Okay, guys, we're live. About 15 minutes late. Sorry about that. I got caught up in making sample packs with Susanna for her Prove It OS I'm sorry, her Prove It Ketone business, Keto OS business. She's doing 5-day and 10-day trials. So, if you have any interest in getting into a ketogenic diet, John McGinty, happy birthday! I keep missing you. I want you to hear. Then hit her up, Susanna Bennett, on Facebook, or you can always hit me up. Either way, I'm okay with it. There's Dennis. I'm glad you're here, Dennis. You chose one of our podcast topics today. Before we get started, I did want to show you. I've got my Bomb City Keto shirt. I'm going to see if I can swing around real quick. I don't know how well this will work. Let's see. Can you guys see that? Okay. Dropping bombs and pounds since 2018. You can get one of those too. All you got to do is join our keto lifestyle group. So just hit me up if you're interested in getting a Bomb City Keto shirt and joining the fun. Hashtag Bomb City Keto. So yeah, very exciting. Okay, so we're about to get rolling. Again, sorry I'm late. Let's just see if we can knock this out quickly and easily. We're going to talk about 3 things tonight. What I use to set up my podcast studio, and also where I host currently and where I plan to host, etc., etc. We're going to talk about the Mandela Effect, and I'm going to talk a little bit about the person that I know as the biggest expert on the Mandela Effect. Hey, Leisha. Everyone, please, big prayers and thoughts and shout outs to Leisha Renee Bruner. She's a little bit sick lately, and she's been feeling under the weather, and then she's a great lady. I'd like to see her get better soon. So here's my personal wish, Leisha, that you get better soon. I hope everyone else that's listening throws out a prayer or a kind thought or whatever it is you do, whatever makes you comfortable. All right, so we're going to talk about the Mandela Effect and Guy Fawkes, who for me is the foremost expert on YouTube about it, and also a personal friend, but I can't talk about that. You guys can't know who it is. And then finally, I'm going to talk about network marketing. It's not a bad word. It has nothing to do with a pyramid. I'm serious. We're going to talk about how you put the network in your marketing, right? I think it's number one failing in our industry. So I'm going to talk about that just real briefly. So 3 topics, 30 minutes, 10 minutes each. We are almost at the 5-minute mark already. So we're going to have to get boogieing. And then one last time, if you're interested in joining us for the ketogenic lifestyle, make sure you drop me a line or let Susanna know. Either way. So let's see here. Let's see if we can get this show on the road. Let's talk about the podcast, the ins and outs. Actually, Dennis, I talked about this on my live the other day. I completely agree about CERN and the Mandela Effect. I think the two correlate very closely, and we'll get into that. Anyway, so yes, you're jumping ahead, but it's okay. Let's talk about podcast equipment first. So, literally, when I relaunched the studio, I completely rebuilt. And here's the basic key, all right? You want to have a room that's relatively soundproof, very few windows, if any. You want something that you can isolate yourself from other people as much as is humanly possible. This is part of a converted garage. It has a sliding door between me and the rest of the house. It has one window door to the outside, but with both of those shut, not only is it remarkably warm in here, but it's also very sound effective. So that works out really, really well for podcasting. The next thing I did, of course, I guess I should tell you, I use a CyberPower PC. It's actually a gaming rig, and one of the advantages to that is that I can run multiple applications at the same time. So, for example, while I'm recording the podcast, wouldn't that be funny? It's the Codpiece cast. Let's see our cod pieces for today. I don't know. I think in my head it was funny. I don't know how you'd see a cod piece on a podcast, right? It would have to be like a vlog, right? Video blog. Yeah, I'm not really sure how long YouTube would let. I'm sorry. Yeah, YouTube would let Codpiece vlog go before they shut it down. I imagine it depends on how covering and restricted the Codpiece is. Anyone have an opinion? Let me know on the Facebook Live. Okay, so yes, Codcast. So let's get back to it. All right, so I'm using a CyberPower PC, which is a gaming rig, but it allows me to run multiple applications at once. For example, I use Audacity to record the podcast. So the pure audio, which is going through this mic rig right here, is going through CyberPower PC into Audacity. I'm not using a preamp. I'm using a USB microphone setup. It's less expensive. It also requires less technical expertise. I have this wonderful mic I'm using, which is, what am I using? Rode Podcaster USB dynamic microphone. And it is in a Rode PSM shock mount for podcasting. A shock mount is simply a cage. You guys can probably see it, right? That goes around the microphone that kind of keeps it springy, right? See how it's springy? That way, if I accidentally smack it or jerk around, it's not necessarily going to inhibit the sound in any way. I also have a Dragon Pad USA pop filter right here on the mic stand. The mic stand I'm using is a Rode PSA 1 swivel mount studio microphone boom arm. So altogether, those 1, 2, 3, 4 pieces. The most expensive, ironically, is of course the microphone, $230. But the boom arm is actually a $100 piece of equipment. The cage itself, not very bad. Yeah, no popping piece. No. Could you guys hear that? I don't know. Maybe you could. Anyways, the Dragon Pad plosive filter is only about $9, and the shock mount is only about $40. So you're looking at, about $350, $400 for the mechanics of the audio portion for the podcast. Additional to that, for my YouTube, for my Facebook Live, I'm just using my handy dandy iPhone 6S. Nothing special or spectacular about it. I am using a Boya lavalier microphone. So there's that. That's a static microphone. It's pointed directly at my mouth. There is no plosive filter. Well, there's like a built-in foam one that goes around the microphone that works pretty well, I guess. But I found it's definitely increased my audio on the live. So I've got the live streaming through the iPhone, which is also connected to my CyberPower PC through iTunes. So it's simultaneously recording and also streaming. So there's that. And then finally, for the YouTube viewers, I'm running just my regular camera app on my computer with a Logitech C930 video webcam. That ran me about $85. So yeah, so Dennis, the key here is I'm mic'd for the live, and I'm separately mic'd, and more importantly, more expensively mic'd for the audio. Because what you want to remember is that, even though Audacity is free and you can use, I used a Meteor mic. I know that's what you used for years. The problem with it is that when you don't have a dynamic microphone set up like this, then you're getting a lot of ambient noise and you're doing a lot of editing. So my key here is to have as little work in post as possible. I want as pure a sound on the live as I can. I want it even better when it's going to Audacity. So I've got very little editing. I'm just doing bumps, I'm doing intros, I'm doing outros. So that's it. So for podcasting, that's essentially what I do. And as far as hosting goes right now, I got impatient and I hadn't built my website yet. The snowball, I'm sure that's an issue with it. What I did was I went to anchor.fm and I did a free account, and it aggregates your podcast automatically to Google Play and to iTunes and to anchor.fm, their own app. Hello, Wade. Good to see you. So that's kind of cool because one of the most difficult things, of course, is the aggregator. Normally, I use Libsyn, which is a syndicator. And what I generally do is I'll have an aggregator or maybe a web, like a hosting site on my own webpage where I actually do the hosting, and then I have it referred to the Libsyn, and from Libsyn it goes to iTunes. Unfortunately, I got impatient because I didn't really want to spend the time to build the website yet. I wanted to get the podcast started and get content out there to y'all. So instead of using Libsyn, I used Anchor.fm. The upside to that is it's free, and it's very easy for it to publish your content to iTunes just within like 12 hours. The downside to it is it's free, therefore it could go away, which happened to me when I did my original podcast, All Things Geek. I had hosted back then through mypodcast.com, which was literally one of the biggest things on the planet back then. But maybe 2 years in, they went away, and I literally lost probably 100 hours of podcasts. So there's that. So in the end, as far as hosting goes, I would host it on your own WordPress website, and then use an aggregator or a syndicator to send it to the various places. The advantage to a syndicator is this: if you go to Facebook and you set up your Everygeek podcast link through Anchor.fm, and then later on you want to switch it somewhere else, it's very difficult to get Facebook to redirect to the other place that you're hosting your MP3s. On the flip side, if you use a syndicator like Libsyn, then everything goes through that. So you never have to redirect where iTunes is picking up your podcast. You only have to redirect where the syndicator is finding your podcast, if that makes sense. So as far as hosting, if you have a website built and you have the bandwidth and the storage space to host your own audio content on your site, I would do that. I would point to it with a syndicator and then point from there to iTunes and Google Play. But if you don't have that time or money or setup, Anchor.fm is a great, at least short term, and I mean short term like the next foreseeable 2 or 3 years, a great solution and a free solution. And there's some pretty heavy hitters that are actually using it right now. I'll give you an example. Jessie Lee Ward is using it to host her podcast. I actually helped her get that up and running. She is the people's mentor on iTunes, so check that out if you get a chance. All right, that's it. That takes us to the 10-minute mark. So insert here. 1, 2, 3. That's my sound marker for my bump. And once again, thanks to Eddie Brooks for that. I'm pretty sure that I shall have this podcast actually published. Oh, God. Today is the 6th by the 8th is my goal. Okay, so let's see. Second half of the podcast. We're coming in. 3, 2, 1. All right, thank you. And we're back. The next thing I wanted to talk about was the Mandela Effect. So hopefully some of you are around that were interested in listening to or hearing about the Mandela Effect. In essence, it refers to the phenomenon in which a large number of people share false memories of past events, referred to as confabulation in psychiatry. Some have speculated that the memories are caused by parallel universes spilling into our own, while others explain the phenomenon as a failure of collective memory. So, hey, Renee, good. I'm glad you're here. So at work the other day, we threw this out to 4 people. Not really like a scientific study. I mean, there obviously weren't enough people. But we used the core question. The reason the Mandela Effect is called the Mandela Effect, which is simply this. What year, ask yourself now, what year did Nelson Mandela die? Okay, so here's the answer. Well, actually, I'll tell you the results, right? Of the 4 people surveyed, um, 2 people thought Nelson Mandela died in the 80s, which is what I remember happening. And 2 people said, no, Nelson Mandela just died recently. Actually, he died December 5th, 2013. The thing is Nelson Mandela dying in 2013 was the first time since the internet was a force where a large number of people said, hey, wait, that's not right, and even did some research. And what they found out was that there actually was at least one published web verifiable news article in 1988 that said Nelson Mandela died. So some people, about half, think that Mandela died in 88, and about the other half think that he died in 2013, which is, in our reality, the truth. So you might ask yourself, how did something like this come about? Well, here's another good one. Here's a big one. The one we talked about at work. Okay, you ready? There is a superstore like Sam's Club that starts with the letter C and ends with the letter O. I would love for you to type the name of that superstore in the comments. Hello, Marie Alexis. How are you? That is a nice cup I have there. The Courtyard by Marriott, Abilene Mall South. Make room for a little fun. Call them at 325-695-9600. You can ask for Renee in sales. She'll help you. Little plug for my old hotel. All right. So, all right. What do you guys think? Is it, what is the name of this superstore? What is the name of the superstore? Okay. I'm waiting. There's a lag. Yeah. All right. Here's the thing. It's actually called Cost with a T, Co. Although many people remember it now as Costco. That's from a video by Guy Fawkes. I'm going to drop his link below. Guy Fawkes is actually a personal friend of mine who called me when this years ago when this whole phenomenon started, and we've had many and copious conversations about the Mandela Effect. The prevalent thought is that it's a sign of either the end of times in a biblical sense, or that it's a result of the closest Costco's in Lubbock. Yes, sir. Wait, that's correct. Or that in September 10, 2008, when the CERN Large Hadron Collider was fired up, it caused a rift. Now, I'm not all that into quantum mechanics, but I do know that one of the experiments that the Super Collider is doing is in quantum gateways on a tiny, tiny submicroscopic scale. They also do experimentation on the confusing part is Costco makes strollers and playpens. Yes, that's true. That might be why. They also do some experimentation on linking these atoms, right? Molecules, I don't know. I'm not a scientist, guys. Sorry. But anyways, what they do is they link these two. They pair these two atoms. Then they take them all the way across the world from each other and fire them off, and they repeat. They stay in sequence no matter where they are geographically to each other, which is supposed to be impossible, right? So they instantaneously communicate between unknown distances and infinite distances without having any effect on lag or anything else. So all of these things are kind of creepy, right? I mean, they're definitely experimentation. People thought the superconductor was going to like end the world, which it hasn't done yet. But a lot of people really do think that it opened some sort of like gateway into what physicists call the infinite worlds theory, which is that anything that you can possibly imagine, any variation of any scenario that you can possibly come up with, is existing simultaneous within the same space, but within a different reality to ourselves right this moment. So yes, literally, I know you just saw me podcasting naked. It's happening somewhere. Whereas I'm also simultaneously wearing a Bozo the Clown mask. Yeah, Renee, deal with that tonight when you're driving home. All right. So, yeah, anything you would possibly imagine is happening somewhere. So what happens is where these very small worlds where no one's ever been rickrolled. Maybe you grew up there and then you crossed over through some crazy gateway caused by the super collider, and now you're living in a world where rickrolling is a thing. And even though it's 2018 and Rick Astley's been around since like 1990, 89, something like that, this person just now for the first time heard about getting rickrolled, right? And you're like, where the hell have you been? How did you not know what that's all about? Well, they didn't know because in their universe, in their dimension, in their reality, there was no Rick Astley, or at least not a Rickroll. That was not a thing. So that's the popular theory. Another popular theory, like I said, is that it's the biblical end of times. And one of the things that we're supposed to beware of is false prophets. And there's some statement in the Bible in Revelation, singular, by the way. I hate people that make it plural. That we will not be able to hear God's word. And some people interpret that too, for example, written history being changed from what you remember to what it is. There are quite a large group, and Guy Fawkes spends a lot of time looking at them, where people think or are convinced that the scripture as written currently is not the scripture as they read as short as maybe a week or 2 weeks ago. I can think of very fewer things that are as creepy as reading a passage and then going back to refer to it and finding that it's no longer there or it's changed dramatically. And that's what people are finding in the Bible. And then the third most creepy thing about the Mandela Effect is when it happens in your life, okay? So here's the deal. For example, let's say that Dennis and I had discussed on a previous live that he was interested in hearing about how to set up a podcast and what the expense was and, where I host and that kind of a thing. So today, my first segment was for that. What if Dennis, who's listening live right now, had typed in there, James, I don't know what you're talking about. I actually have zero interest in podcasting. That for me would be very disturbing. I would immediately try and look at the chat log from the previous live or the previous podcast where we had discussed it. And when you do, lo and behold, it's gone. Or it doesn't progress the way your memory tells you it progressed. That is by far, I think, the most egregiously scary instance of the Mandela Effect, and actually happened to Guy Fawkes. So there's a podcast where yours truly, James Bennett, guests on Guy Fawkes' podcast about a conversation that we had that I remember clearly, he remembers clearly, and his coworker thinks he's gone crazy. So tune into that. Tell me what you think. That puts us, gosh, man, it's just bumping along tonight at the 20-minute mark. That gives us to, right, this was supposed to be about setting up a con at my hotel. Thanks, dude. That's kind of creepy that you said that. That was like, we'll get into that another time. All right. Last topic on the podcast whiteboard is, oh, by the way, I got a W today, Dennis. Network marketing. Don't forget that networking. Build relationships, spark curiosity. Here's the thing about network marketing, right? Facebook has changed its algorithm. Like, first off, do you even know what an algorithm is? I hear that so freaking often. And if you do know what an algorithm is, you probably know that it changes pretty much all the time. Anytime you track a new variable or a new variable comes into existence, the algorithm changes. So Facebook is constantly changing and evolving its algorithm. I think what they're trying to say is that Facebook is evolving to try and catch and limit the access to people that are adamantly and obviously trying to sell something on Facebook. Okay, it's a social network. It's not a commercial network, right? Facebook should limit your access unless you're paying for advertisement to the general public, but you should have already been limiting your access. Here's the deal. I'm a network marketer. I'm not going to make any jokes or lies or hesitations about it. My end goal, although I want to provide you with as much premium free content as possible, is to direct your interest to the other things that I'm doing, like podcasting and Prove It, and even, a couple other companies I won't name right now. Here's why. I am having results with these products. I think they're amazing, especially Prove It. I mean, I've lost like almost 30 pounds. I mean, 4 inches. That's a huge success in, like, gosh, what is it, 4 months? I mean, it's the best I've ever done in my life. And as I do these lives with you, I don't have to talk about it, right? Because you can see it in my face, right? And occasionally I mention it. I mentioned it just now. But I don't want to sell it to you. I want you, my friend, to see the results, see my passion about it, and then ask me about it. And then I'll tell you. It's called network marketing. To have network marketing, you need to have a network, and B, you do need to have a market. Here's the problem with that. If I were to talk to every person, and I do this, so if you get a message from me that seems salesy, you're going to get it. And here's why. The average close rate for a cold call, which is a call or a text or message you make in which the other party has no idea you're trying to sell them something, and your primary focus is to sell them something, is a 2% close rate. Okay? So that means out of every 100 friends, I'm sorry, it's actually a 1.5% close rate. I can expect that I might make one sale and piss 99 people off. That's what Facebook's trying to stop. And hats off to them. Because if you're my friend, I already got you in my phone. I don't need you on Facebook. I can reach you if I need to reach you, right? What Facebook is for, and what it should be for, is for stuff like I'm doing right freaking now, which is very simply sharing the things I'm passionate about with anyone that's interested in hearing. And I have a sweat equity here, right? The Everygeek podcast is not designed for you to ever give me money, ever. That will never happen. What it is designed to do is to give you a peek into my world, to give some sort of value to the people that are into the things I'm into. It's designed to attract and retain my tribe, which is a word that I really dig, by the way. And then finally, it's designed so that eventually, like let's say 4 years down the road, somebody will reach out to me and say, hey, I see you have a large group of people that are interested in R2D2. We would like to run commercials about R2D2 on your podcast. And then at that point, my podcast might pay actual remunerative dividends, right? Does that make sense? That's what network marketing is about, all right? In order to market to your network, you need to have developed a network and a relationship. Some sweat equity needs to have been established, and there has to be a level of trust, right? Here's the thing. I'm never going to trick you into buying something, right? That's like, what do they call that, used car salesman? And if you're a used car salesman, like a couple of my good friends are, I'm sorry in advance for saying that. Anyways, or not in advance because I said it already. Okay. But here's the thing, yo. That's not me, right? I would much rather sit here for 30 minutes right now and chat with you. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to do it every Sunday. I have decided that maybe every Wednesday night I'm going to do a on the same feed a hotel and travel centric podcast as well, because that is also something I'm passionate about. So stay tuned for that. When it gets to the website, when I eventually get it set up, you'll be able to tell which is which by the day, the time, and the hashtag. So just to make it nice and fresh for you. And I also decided that going forward every Friday, I'm going to try and release a From the Vaults, which is some of my favorite. Like last night, I woke up with a 357 on my computer. That was a great episode. I really think we should talk about that. So I might pull some of the old ones from the vaults and put those on the website and in the feed as well. By the way, if you are listening to us on iTunes, I would love it. It would literally make my entire day, my week, my month, maybe my entire life, if you would leave a comment, write a review, or just, give me a rating on iTunes. If you're listening to this on Anchor.fm, same thing. It's literally a podcaster's lifeblood. If you're in the live chat right now, I would love for you to tell me yay or nay whether or not you're happy. You can just drop a 1 down below if you're happy with this podcast, you want to see it continue. If you're interested in the variations on this podcast and getting more of me every week, drop a number 2. And then finally, please, this absolutely does not cost you anything. If you're listening live on Facebook, or if you're listening to this recorded on YouTube, please like it. It really, really helps. And then that's really all I got tonight, man. I do have one thing I wanted to show you guys. It has nothing to do with anything else we talked about. But I went yard sailing. Thank you, Dennis. I will keep it going. And I found these amazing finds. First off, look at that. Live from Orange County, Social Distortion. Freaking awesome. I actually saw Social Distortion live in Orange County at Cal State Fullerton. This also, look at that. J.K. Rowling, The Casual Vacancy. This is her first adult novel, and I don't mean adult novel like dirty romance novel. And then finally, my daughter just did a report on this lady, and we were talking about her in the car, and then I walked into a thrift store, actually, and I found The Immortal Life of Henrietta Lacks. We'll actually talk about her when I finish this. Henrietta Lacks is a person where almost every disease, she's the person whose cells are used to test every disease and every cure. Literally, it saved millions of lives. And then finally, I was at Hobby Lobby and got some neat stuff. But most importantly, I got this mysterious puzzle box with a difficulty level of impossible. So on one of the lives in the upcoming week, I'm going to try and open this box. And will probably fail miserably. If you want to see me do that, drop a number 4 down below. And that's it. That's all I got. It's been 30 minutes. I'm glad to have spent it with you. Another Sunday in the can. Tomorrow's Monday. Who's excited about that? Drop a thumbs down. They don't let you do that, right? There's no thumbs down. What the hell am I talking about? But until next week, thank you for joining me. And I usually do lives like most nights, so check them out. And all of you on Google, you get to watch me for one more moment. You know what I didn't do? And this is going to kill me. I didn't start the audio. Right? Is that ridiculous? So that means that I've got one more step. One more hellacious step. God. See, you should totally watch this on YouTube, right? Because it definitely pays to get some more behind the scenes looks. Did I watch you guys more this time? I think I did. I literally need to upload the entire video and then strip out all the audio, and then I need to filter it and edit it. So just to give you an idea of what that takes, it literally is 1 to 3 hours. So for every 1 hour of talking, you're looking at up to 3 hours of editing. So we did a 35-minute podcast. So it's going to take at least an hour and a half to up to 2.5 hours to edit. So yay, I've got that fun to look forward to. All right, I guess that's it. Hey man, if you are listening on YouTube, and you have to be to hear this part, please, please, please subscribe, leave me a comment, tell me to go to hell. I really, literally don't care. But I like feedback. I love it. Honestly, I could talk to myself every week for the rest of my life. But if you're watching, why not tell me what you think? Right? Okay, that's all I got. All right, guys, thanks a lot. Have a great Sunday night. Oh, and happy Monday.